everyone. I'm Kurt Powers, and this is my point.
To wear a mask or not to wear a mask, that is the question. And apparently it's the question of the decade, the way people are acting. How has this one simple request sparked such a divide between this country? Well, I believe as usual, it's because of the extremes from both sides that grab the mics and shout the loudest and try to control the narrative. The problem with extremists is that they only acknowledge the science that backs their beliefs and they discard the rest, much like religious zealots who cherry pick their scriptures. So what do? First off, we must acknowledge that there's a certain percentage of people out there from both sides that are not going to listen to reason or accept the facts or truth that go against their beliefs. And once we identify them, we have one of two options. We can either choose to ignore them or challenge them. Now, depending on your personality, you should do what works best for you. For those of you who challenge them, always be respectful, always be factual, and always be an adult. When people resort to childish tactics such as name-calling, it's always as a result of having no basis for their argument. Keep in mind that the goal is not to win an argument, because you can't win an argument against someone who denies facts and reason. They just deny the truth. So it's not about winning an argument and getting these people to change their mind, because they're never going to change their mind, ever. Because they grasp onto those beliefs no matter how wrong they might be, and they hold on to them with a death grip. What you want to do is your hope is to inform people who are part of that thread, who are part of that conversation, who are looking at it and going, I'm not sure where I stand on this. I'm not sure if I should wear a mask or if it's something that's ridiculous. And so when you begin to use logic and reason and you act like an adult, they're more bound to listen to you. You cannot expect people to listen to reason if you're acting unreasonable. Now, with that being said, let's look at both sides. On one side, you have the extreme people on the mask side that sit there and act as if the sky is falling, the henny penny syndrome, as if you must wear a mask, you must wear gloves, you must stay inside, you must never go out, the economy must be shut down forever, and anything that you do contrary to that belief is all because all you're concerned with is money, which is complete nonsense, of course. Then on the other side, you have those who deny that COVID-19 even exists, or that it's deadly, or that people are dying from it, and they minimize it to the point where they pretend that masks don't serve a purpose, that they don't help, because they do. The CDC has come out and said that if everyone wore a mask, we could get this thing under control within 2 months. Yet we have these idiots out there, and you're never going to be able to shame people into wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. You're never going to change those people's minds, like I said earlier. And that's not my goal. But, we have to start using reason and logic when we think. So those people who on the one side who think people should wear the mask everywhere, including in the bathtub, you need to think rationally and go, look, we deal with things on a daily basis. We deal with the flu, we deal with viruses all the time, we deal with colds, we deal with accidents. If you're that afraid, then stay in your home and don't leave, because honestly, you don't need to. You can buy anything you want now online and have it delivered to your home for just as cheap as it is to go out to the store yourself. So if you're that afraid, then stay home. But don't expect the rest of the people in this country to shut the economy down because of your fear. Now, on the other side of that, those of you who sit there and you act like you're a tough guy or a tough woman, and you think that everybody's being a snowflake and they're all being sheep because they're wearing a mask. Did it ever cross your mind that maybe people are just being considerate of others? Have you lost your humanity to the point that you can't think about anyone other than yourself? Are you really the only thing that's important to you? Look, I wear a mask when I go out in public. And I have a great immune system. I very seldom ever get sick. And so I don't have a great deal of worry about me getting this. Or if I did, I certainly have no concern of dying over it. And I don't wear the mask because I fear getting COVID-19. I wear it because I know there are people out there who do have immune systems that are compromised. I do know there are people out there who have anxiety over this. And so if me wearing a mask gives them a peace of mind and gives them a little bit more comfort, then why the hell wouldn't I? It's just being considerate. And, in this country, so many people have lost that ability to be considerate of others. And I go, you really need to look at yourself in the mirror and go, is this the kind of person that I want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered as the asshole who sat there and proved your point that, oh, this is all a joke and that people are sheep? Or do you want to be remembered as somebody who was thoughtful and considerate of others? It's your choice, because one day we're all going to die. And when we do, we're going to be remembered for our kindness, or we're going to be remembered for being an asshole. Which one are you going to be? And then for the people on the side of not wearing masks, to sit there and say your rights are being violated is shows that your ignorance to the law is astounding. You don't even know the basics. And for you to sit there and pretend like you're some sort of a lawyer and that you're citing your constitutional rights shows just how childish you are. Your rights are no more violated than when they tell you can't come into a store without shirt or shoes. If they said you cannot come in this store without a mask, and yet they let everyone else in the store without a mask, then you would have a case. But that's not what's going on. They're requiring everyone to wear a mask. And when you pull this childish tactic by putting on a mask and then have it hanging on your ear or underneath your nose or whatever, and then lying, because that's what the majority of you are doing, or lying when you sit there and say, oh, I have a health condition that prevents me from wearing a mask. You know you're full of shit. We all know you're full of shit. And it just shows what kind of person you are. And it's not a good one. What's happened in this country is that we have a shitload of people who've grown old and never grew up. You act like petulant children because you can't get your way. You're going to throw a fucking tantrum. And do you understand that if you have children or children who may see you, do you see the example that you're setting? Do you really think that's the example that you want to set as an adult? I just wonder what some of you people think sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I'm far from perfect. I've certainly shown my ass in public more than once. But I like to think that each time I do that, I get a little wiser and I do it less and less. And yet some of you never seem to learn your lesson. Some of you seem to be more than perfectly fine showing your ass all the time. And it's not a pretty sight. So, I would say, look, regardless of where you stand on this, you need to think of other people and not just yourself. You need to understand that the economy does have to go on, that we have to open up stores. We cannot let this keep us closed down forever. It is not the government's job to take care of us. And for those of you who think so, you need to get rid of that sense of entitlement. And on the other side, You need to start being considerate and thoughtful of other people. You are your brother's keeper. If you're part of this society, you should be a person in this society who doesn't just take, but also gives back. And all I see in this whole debate and argument are a bunch of takers. And unfortunately, that's not the majority of the people. The majority of the people are silent. The majority of people who are reasonable about this, they don't want to get caught up in this argument. They just do what's right. And so if you're on either side of this, fighting the extremes, you're part of the problem. Stop being part of the problem. And as Stan March would say, be part of the solution. And that's all. So this should be the final word on the mass debate.